Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University. I brought my wife again.
Hello, I'm back.
Just, you can't get any more blunt than that. She's back. Anyway, so check this out. We got a little bit of comic book news.
Okay.
I figure, we'll talk a little bit of comic book news and stuff like that. Is that
Being
cool with you?
yeah,
Is
being
that all right?
CBU
You
makes
sure?
sense.
You don't want to just talk about like the weather or something?
Yeah, no, it's okay. We can talk about comic books.
Happy post Halloween, by the way.
Yes, happy Halloween, everyone.
Yo, I went as a professor for Halloween. It's pretty cool.
And I was Miss Frizzle. Does anyone know? Do people know Miss Frizzle?
Right, does anybody know Miss Frizzle anymore?
I know, she's my favorite.
Magic School Bus.
Yeah,
See, I knew the answer last week, but since you didn't want to say anything, I figured, okay, whatever, I'll just let it go.
I've been
But
trying to be Miss Frizzle since I was a kid.
I know.
Yeah,
I
so
know.
I finally got to be her.
Literally ordered from Amazon to find the proper clothes
Yeah.
in order to actually look like freaking Miss Frizzle. Anyway, so I'm glad you finally got to do that.
Yeah.
That was cool. Get some...
Check.
Right?
Yeah.
Bucket list?
Check. Miss Frizzle, done.
Oh, easiest bucket list in the freaking world. So it requires no scalable mountains or anything like
No,
that.
that's not my kind of bucket list. So,
All right. So I figure we'll talk a little bit of comic book news.
all right.
Specifically, Marvel Made. So this is a new series that's going to be put out. It's going to be almost like crowdfunding, like a Kickstarter kind of thing, but not really. It's basically going to be a way to focus a spotlight on a single writer and or artist in the comic book community and have some of their best work put in there. And the inaugural launch, so I believe it's actually supposed to be hard covered and everything.
Okay.
You don't usually get too much more than omnibuses that are hard covered. In this particular case, it's actually supposed to look like something that you'd see at a law office. You know, so like they actually
Okay,
look
that's neat.
really nice.
Yeah.
They generally look really nice. But basically, the Marvel Made the first the Paragon collection. So Paragon being a perfect archetype of what you want to see in a thing. Like this is the perfect model of what you want your book to be or your sculpture to be or whatever it is. The first person they're going to feature is Chris Claremont, the guy who's responsible for making the X-Men effing epic.
Neat.
So Stan Lee, Jack Kirby originally created the X-Men, and
Yeah.
they did a bunch of X-Men, and people were just kind of, whatever. It was pretty much canceled at one point, just, unceremoniously. You know what I'm saying? Fell by the wayside. They really thought they were never going to do anything with it again. And all of a sudden, some people came along and said, I got an idea. And then Chris Claremont was like right there. And a couple issues in, he got this pace and he never lost it from early 80s until about 93, about 1993, 94, something like that. That's when he's finally like, yeah, whatever. Plus they let him go. There was arguments. Anyway, so they made peace with him.
Okay, so now they're doing this for him?
Yes. Yeah, because every so often he'll come back, he'll write a book or two. He'll write a comic book or two, usually X-Men, but whatever. And in this particular case, they're going to shine a spotlight on stuff. He's going to be the inaugural Paragon collection for this Marvel Made series. You get some extra lithographs and things like that if you're a Marvel Unlimited member, which is the paid subscription service that they have for getting your digital comics. Remember last week we talked about you get the brand new comics 3 months earlier now. It used to be 6 months, now it's only 3 months, and you get your digital collection and your new comics. So they're really trying to ramp up. That's 2 weeks in a row that we've got Marvel Unlimited news.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they're gonna if they do 3 in a row, if they make us do 3 in a row where we're talking about it, I know that they're making some major money moves. You know, DC's been doing some dumb stuff lately. Like, with all due respect, if you're Marvel or DC, but I don't care about that nonsense. I actually just pay attention to what's actually being done, and I look at it from a business insider. More on Business Insider a little later in the show.
Okay.
But I actually look at it from a business point of view, and business-wise, Marvel right now is doing fantastic things pretty much across the board. DC's been doing mostly dumb things across the board, specifically barely doing anything with their digital market except saying, yeah, here's reprints, and we're going to charge you $1 for it. And that's not, and then we're going to bypass your comic book store and put stuff out a day early. Like, what? How is that? How is that good? So I got to take 2 trips to the comic book store where my stuff gets sold out? Like, I'm just more pissed off at DC for that. I actually didn't get my Detective Comics comic for the past 2 issues. I had to get it digitally from Comixology because they put the stuff out a day before they put out the Marvel stuff.
Okay.
So I'm not going to... I refuse to go to the comic book store like 2 days in a row.
I see now.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when I go to pick up my comic books now on Wednesday, I can go on Tuesday and get my DC and hope that my Marvel is there next week.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I can't just put everything in my pull list.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I just don't want to do that. But now when people know, hey, something special is going to happen to DC, you go in there really quick. If something's not in my pull list, if I forget to call my comic book store, hey, just put this one issue in my pull list. I just found out, a couple minutes ago that this is going to be an important issue of like Harley Quinn or something that I don't usually collect. It's like, well, then I miss out as opposed to having a fighting chance. Yeah, it just gets really, like literally DC is doing some of the dumbest things in the world right now.
Well, they're trying to compete with Marvel, so I can see from that sense.
And in dumb ways.
Yeah.
If I want to compete with somebody so I take steroids and I get caught, was that smart?
No.
So there you go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? People can try to compete and do stupid things. Let's move on. How about CyberPunk? You're not familiar with this at all, but it's CyberPunk started off as a role-playing game. My Dungeons and Dragons and Marvel superhero stuff. This is a sci-fi futuristic version of the role-playing games. CyberPunk was always big. Like that and Shadowrun were probably the two, Star Frontier also, but that's going way back. You got to be old to know that stuff. But these were the things that were like the cutting edge of, role-playing games for sci-fi, for futuristic stuff. They had a video game coming out, Cyberpunk 2077. It was supposed to be out already. Right now it was supposed to be out. And they said, well, we got it going across platforms, PC, Xbox 360. They're skipping Nintendo Switch, of course, because too violent. And PS4 and PS5. You know what I'm saying? And they said, we're having a problem releasing all of the different platforms at the same time. So we're just going to delay everything until, what was it? The December 10th. December 10th. So they're delaying it by 21 days.
Okay.
Sounds like a very noble, regular old basic thing, right?
Yeah.
Except December 10th is 15 days away from what biggest holiday on the face of the planet?
I mean, they should have planned it from the get.
Yes. If they would have been smart enough and had the foresight to say, you know what, let's make this a release closer to Christmas so that either the people can buy it themselves or they can get it as a gift. Somebody else could buy it for them.
Yeah.
That I think would have been a better idea instead of promising, here it comes, and right when people are about to get, because like I have no dog in this race. You know what I'm saying? I don't care about this game. Yeah. Keanu Reeves actually has a major part in this. It's a video game. They're doing a bunch of like his face. He's going to be the main actor in the video game. Dude, video games are getting cinematic. It's crazy. Yeah. Like, I don't know if you know, like, cutscenes from video games back when you were a kid. No, we had cutscenes in the original Pac-Man game in the arcades. Yeah. Like, the first real major video game that made people go crazy. What was that one that I got
for you last year?
Red Dead Redemption. Yeah, there were a bunch of cutscenes in that. Yeah, exactly. That was a good game. Just frustrated me. And I don't play games that frustrate me. So, I'm sorry you bought me something I never played, including Fortnite. You bought me Fortnite. I never played it once. Yeah. Sorry. I was never into Fortnite. But I appreciate that. Like it was from the heart. You thought about it. Yeah. But in this particular case, I just think it was a really genuinely a boneheaded, stupid idea to last minute back out and say, because the idea that they couldn't get it out for all the platforms at the same time is quite frankly a load of crap. It's an absolute load of crap. No, I don't want to hear nonsense like that. All the time and the effort that they put into this, and they didn't foresee that one or more of them wasn't going to make it in time until the very end. They're like, oh no.
Could also be the hype and just the fact that we're talking about it. I mean, like, had they just planned it for 15 days before Christmas, we would not have been talking about it right now, would we? No, absolutely not.
But I mean, is that the way that we want to do things? Is that the way that you want to... Is that the kind of, I don't know, promotion that you want? for what you do. Because I don't think so. I think that's a really dumb idea, personally. So
I'm not advocating for free.
No, I know.
I'm just saying, like...
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I know. You know me. I get loud about everything, damn it. What's the weather like? What's for dinner?
Windy.
You look good this morning.
Merci.
Everything is yelling. So, how about we cut with that nonsense and get to the Snyder Cut?
Okay.
All right, let's get back to Zack Snyder. This is how you stay in the news. Okay. You have something new coming out all the time, some new information. You drop it here and there, and then people keep on talking about it. People keep on having it in their mind. It's free advertisement. A single tweet a week is free advertisement where you get people talking, writing articles about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, what happened? What did he do?
He shot somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue. Oh, wait, no, that was Trump. Well, he said he could. Gosh. Anyway.
How many more days do you guys have? 4 more days?
Actually, the election was done right now, as we're...
No.
We're talking right now?
No, yeah. Like these are the pre-election voting.
November 10th.
No, it's not November 10th. November 2nd or November 4th, something like that.
Oh, my God. Oh, because I see 10 at the bottom. It's like, that's the...
Don't freak me out. I'm like waiting.
Yeah, it's October 31st. Anyway, yeah, the pre-ones. Biden has almost 1.5 times the electoral right now, currently, as Trump does. Yeah, so...
You talk about politics here, right?
Yeah, I don't have a problem. It's still news. It's still pop culture. Everybody's talking about it, so...
4 more days.
Yeah, whatever. Honestly, personally, and some people are going to get upset. Somebody's always going to get upset with what you say, especially with politics. I really don't see a difference.
I don't either in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. But at the same time, I want him gone. But I don't see a difference either. That's not fair to say. I do see a difference. But... There are differences, but it's not a difference that's going to trickle down to a lot of people.
Exactly.
At least the difference is that he's inciting hate from my perspective, right? From our perspective, he's inflaming things.
Yeah, as opposed to writing the crime bill that eventually led to the
people and pretending that things are fine and
No, that was Obama.
And selling the
I'm saying Biden specifically.
Yeah.
Biden specifically wrote the crime bill. Biden himself has been
crime bill?
The crime bill, which actually led to all of this nonsense.
Yeah.
Black people being arrested at 20 times the rate of
Something
white people?
That. Yeah, I was just reading that.
Yeah, it's insane. It skews the statistics, so it looks like black people are committing 20 times more crime, and it's like that's not what's happening. It led to what's now known as stop and frisk, and it led to what's known as the 3 strikes rule. Mm-hmm. So if you're purposely going after black people or people of color and not checking white people, of course it's going to look like they're doing most of the crime. They're getting caught most of the time.
Yeah. Also, crimes, air quotes,
mm-hmm.
crimes that black people were committing, aka crack, right? As
mm-hmm.
opposed to cocaine. It had something like, I don't quote me on the numbers, but when you were sentenced to prison for that,
mm-hmm.
it was so much higher, term, just for the same amount.
Mm-hmm. And there was no sympathy. And nowadays, when you see what's happening with white people, yeah, exactly. Now it's a medical condition because it's happening to white people also.
Yeah.
So that's funny how that works, huh?
Yeah. But that's the thing, though. It's still, crack is not a medical condition, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's still stigmatized.
Yeah.
But opioids, no. We gotta sympathize. We gotta hold your hands.
Yeah. It's not your fault.
Yeah.
So back to the Snyder Cut.
Okay.
Zack Snyder revealed his plans for 5 Justice League movies, not just this one. Now, mind you, we knew that it was going to be at least a trilogy. We knew, it had to have been a trilogy because that's what Hollywood does. You know what I'm saying? Marvel was like, oh yeah, the Avengers movies are going to be a trilogy too, and they're like, but the last Avengers movie will be a part 1 and part 2. And then they saw that people were really mad at Breaking Bad for going part 1 and 2 and Mockingjay going part 1 and 2 and a couple other movies going part 1 and 2 for their last movie. It's not going to be a part 1 and 2, but they're going to be highly related to each other. And Infinity War and Endgame were pretty much part 1 and 2. 5 years later, It's a part 1 and 2 for the love of God.
It wasn't even like from movie to movie. It was within the movie.
Yeah.
You know, right?
Well, no. It was 5 years later.
But within the movie, though. Because, like, something... It starts off with... No?
It ends with Thanos... Like, Endgame... Infinity War ends with Thanos doing the snap and then leaving. And everybody's like, holy crap, did we really just lose?
Yeah. And then they come back
and then 5 years later, they're trying to find... Well, 5 years later, they find where Thanos is a couple months later. And they're like, aha! But then 5 years later,
yes, that's what it was. Okay. Yeah.
So they did a good job of, separating a little bit, but you could tell what the original plans were. It's
like, what is it called? Instead of doing a recap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when you're watching an episodic thingy, instead of doing a recap, they're like, no, we're just going to keep the bit that ties everything in the second movie. It was like, what happened.
Yeah. When the good guys don't win, that's called a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And when you know it's going to continue, that's called a cliffhanger.
True.
So you don't do cliffhangers in movies.
They could not have killed him in the first.
So of course, they could have. They could have had him killed in the very first one. It's like, we won, but did we? And then 5 years later, we found a way to go back in time and fix it. They could have. Would it have worked as well? Probably not. But I'm saying they could have.
I guess so.
Like when he's killed in the first couple minutes of the movie, they cut his head off. It's like, aha! Yeah. They could have.
Okay. True.
Anyway, so we knew it was going to be at least. We all presumed it was going to be 3 movies. They always do trilogies.
Is it live action?
Live action? What?
What is it called?
Oh yeah. It's going to be live. Okay.
What is it called?
It's going to be actual people. Yeah, live action running around. It's not going to be animated or anything like that. Anyway, that was his original plans were for 3 movies. Mm-hmm. Well, at least we presumed that. And he was already talking about when the first Justice League movie, he was filming it. It's like, oh yeah, the sequel, part 2 of Justice League. It's like, blah, blah, blah. So he was already talking about part 2. We knew it was going to be like 3. We didn't know it was going to be 5. Maybe it wasn't going to be 5, but he's saying, oh, my plans were always to have it 5 movies. Really? Anyway, so now it's supposed to be 5 movies. Guess what?
What?
Not Warner Brothers specifically. Warner Brothers generally, but HBO Max specifically, that's going to be airing the Snyder Cut in 4 different parts. By the way, it's back to being called Zack Snyder's Justice League or the Snyder Cut. It's actually going to be. They're actually planning on, or they're already giving him the money and whatnot, and the go-ahead, the green light, to make part 2 of Justice League.
Okay. How do you feel about that? I feel overwhelmed.
I don't feel overwhelmed at all. It's not on the big screen, so less likelihood of superhero overload. Because let's be realistic. I've said this before, here comes again. COVID actually did a lot of good for us comic book fans, and even the non-comic book fans who are just more comic book movie fans, because there have been a lot of superhero movies.
Yeah.
A whole lot. And people who, in general, they don't know the heroes that well, they're like, yeah, I wonder if Shazam's ever going to be, like, invited into the Avengers. It's like, he can't be. Why not? Well, it's not the same universe. Well, I mean, it could be, though, right?
What does that mean? What does it say? Different universe?
You hurt my brain. Right? So, yeah, different companies. Sorry, it's not going to work. It's not going to happen today. All right? Maybe tomorrow, but not today. All right?
I mean, I was that person 10 years ago, so...
Yeah, but then you met me, and I educated you.
But
there also weren't that many freaking superhero movies coming out 10 years ago.
The X-Men. I was watching the X-Men.
Yeah,
I
like
loved it.
Every so often there was a couple of, it is what it is. But, like, when we met, there were only a couple of MCU movies out. Like Tony Stark, the Iron Man movie was out and whatnot. But for the most part, it wasn't really that much.
Superman. I mean, like, I grew up watching that, like everybody else.
But I'm talking about nowadays where, like, 3 superhero movies from just the MCU alone coming out. Plus DC putting out theirs and other companies putting out theirs. Superhero movies that you didn't even know were superhero movies coming out. They were originally comic books. I can't remember
the last time I went to the theater that wasn't for a superhero movie. Maybe like the kids' movies, but like... Yeah,
like Cars.
Yeah.
When we saw Cars 3. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's been an overload. So the idea that, hey, here's a break, that's actually cool. Now you watch them at your own pace. Instead of, oh, this movie's only going to be in the movie theaters for like, 2 weeks, a month, something like that. I got to go see it now. It's like, it's your schedule to a very limited window. So you have to go watch it this month. Otherwise, you're waiting forever for it to come to streaming or DVD. So it's good that we've got this break right now, and we can just. So before they start overwhelming us again, we can just have some TV series and things that we can just watch at our leisure.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't watch the first, or did you watch the first episode of season 2, episode 1, Mandalorian? You didn't see it yet?
Not yet.
I already did my review for it. You saw.
I'm waiting for.
Oh, I waited up for it. I kept on refreshing the screen. Like refresh.
Really?
Watch now. Oh, I'm gonna watch it now. Boom, play.
Wow.
Skip the recap, mother fathead. I just rewatched it 2 weeks ago. I'm good.
Nah, I'm still on Halloween watch. When that is over.
Not I, said the cat. No, I'm good. So something like this is like, it was refreshing. Like it's literally, it's like the one good thing I could say about the pandemic is, hey, look, less superhero movies. So we're not going to get overwhelmed, you know? People are far past inundated, for crying out loud. So, what do we got here? They're talking about he's talking about 5 Justice League movies. They've already got one coming in. Supposedly, yeah, HBO Max offered him to make Justice League 2. He's probably not going to say no. We talked about him getting $70 million to do reshoots for the movie. We talked about him bringing in extras to do the movie. Like Jared Leto was not in the original Snyder Cut. And now we're finding out even more. There was an article written that is justifying something that I've said at least once. That I think that HBO Max and Warner Brothers specifically is keeping Zack Snyder around because they're afraid that he's going to go someplace else. And then he's going to be competition for them.
Okay.
Would he go to Marvel? I don't think that Kevin Feige would want him in the MCU. I really don't. It's just, he's not the superhero. I don't want to see him making Captain America cutting people's heads off with his shield and stuff like that.
That kind of
Iron Man just blasting people away and having death rays and stuff like that. Like, I don't want to see Spider-Man snapping people's necks. And you know,
don't do that, Spider-Man.
What were we supposed to do? The guy came at him and Electro wouldn't stop. So blah, 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 blah. No, stop. You stop. Snyder needs to be stopped. So you want to keep him in DC and keep him having heroes killing normal people and not caring about the destruction of the planet? Sure. You know what I'm saying? I'm already, like, my soul is already deadened to it. You know what I'm saying? But don't do that to all the heroes. But I don't think that Marvel is really at risk of being Snyderized. But I do see a lot of other people being very anxious to bring him over. Case in point, you've got the Image Comics. They would love to be able to make a couple of movies with him doing that. Imagine if Valiant Comics got a hold of him to do an Exo Manowar movie. Like, that would be crazy. You're not familiar with Exo Manowar, but basically think of Iron Man, but he's, instead of being a rich billionaire playboy, he's an ancient Scandinavian type guy who was brought into the future and given a superpowered suit.
Ooh, that sounds interesting.
So he is. Exo Manowar is actually pretty interesting. Jim Shooter creation. But anyway, so yeah, just imagine him getting his hands on that. Or even people just saying, I don't actually have a superhero, but I want to make a superhero movie. Would you be interested in writing and directing a superhero movie? We'll pay you.
Yeah.
And he's just saying, yeah. Yeah, I could totally see that happening. So yeah, I think that there's a strong possibility that Warner Brothers just doesn't want to lose him, you know, because especially if he does a hero that would go around killing people. If he did, I know some people right now are saying, what if he did Moon Knight? What if he did the Punisher? No, he would go too far. Snyder would go too far. But with somebody like Invincible or some of the other characters out there, or just a brand new character, he would actually be genuine, authentic competition to DC, to Warner Brothers specifically. That's not what they want. So yeah, I'm happy to see an actual written article about something that I've been saying for about a year now. You know, not quite a year, but you get the gist. So now I want to talk a little bit about racism. So you're talking about Trump being a little racist and whatnot.
Okay.
So, forthright racist. How about DC Comics? They've been accused of racism. So Harvey Richards and Latif Ade Williams. Latif Ade, L.A., so his nickname was always L.A. I like that, L.A. Williams. And Harvey Richards. These are two former editors at DC Comics. Actually, they weren't even editors. They never really got promoted to full editor.
Okay.
The way that the DC Comics does their editors, they have 5 different levels. They have assistant editor, associate editors, actual editors, group editors, and executive editors.
Okay.
Okay, that's what they have. And then you go into full-on publisher, VP, stuff like that. VP, then publisher. So you have these 5 labels. So Harvey Richards and L.A. Williams were both assistant editors. They're Richards, Harvey Richards, he was fired on December 19th after 22 years working as an editor, or as a associate editor.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the second level. He got to the second level. DC Comics editorial staffers and whatnot. He was fired on December 2019 after 22 years. There were only 15 staffers there doing that job. He was only promoted once in that 22 years, from assistant to associate editor. He's only promoted once. DC recently hired a black assistant editor. So I talked about that also. Was that with you? No, that was prior to you coming onto the show. So DC hired a black associate editor. He's actually more like a VP. So they hired a VP. They used to have 2 publishers, two guys doing this. So one was Dan DiDio, who was actually, he wasn't very liked. People had very bland things to say when he was finally fired from DC, and it was a very quick firing. And then there's Jim Lee, who is just an artist, but he's beloved. He has great artwork, but he doesn't know his butthole from his elbow when it comes to anything other than drawing, like anything that I've ever seen aside from drawing. He's always out of place and awkward wherever he goes. He doesn't have any kind of business sense whatsoever. He's a great guy. You meet him. I've met him. He's a genuinely great guy, and I hate saying these things about him, but these are flaws, not character flaws. These are like whatever skill flaws that he doesn't have what it takes to be a publisher. Mm-hmm. He just doesn't. He doesn't have what it takes to be an executive in any way, shape, or form. Maybe chief artist. But I mean, he's got no real ideas for moving the company forward. He's got no real focus, no real purpose, except as a figurehead. And he's always been a figurehead. We've always heard about Dan DiDio, this move, and all these different moves. Sometimes we agree with them, sometimes we don't. Most of the times we don't. It is what it is. But we never heard anything from Lee because he doesn't have any ideas. Mm-hmm. Ever since they fired DiDio, because, there's the whole move, AT&T took over Warner Brothers, they're like, oh, you got 2 of these guys? This guy, a lot of people don't like him? Fire him. So, You already got another guy. You already got Lee. So who cares? The problem is, this is what happens when you have higher-ups who don't look at the lowers. Now, being completely in charge of DC Comics seems like a big deal to a lot of us, but to AT&T, their executives, they're like, this is an umbrella company that doesn't make us a lot of money. Mm-hmm. But the properties that they have make us a lot of money in our WB Pictures locations. So we'll keep the thing. Otherwise, they would have gotten rid of DC immediately. Yeah. DC Comics, they don't make us any money. Get rid of this guy. Get rid of the whole business. Stop the comics. We don't need them anymore. Sell them. Who wants to buy our comic book company? Who wants to buy Batman and Superman? They don't make us any money. Mm-hmm. But they do make them, so they don't make them any money in the comics, but they do make a lot of money in the movies, clearly, right? Billions. So Jim Lee doesn't have any idea what he's doing. And they decided to finally hire a VP, not another publisher, not somebody equal to him, but a VP instead. Black guy, mostly did sports stuff, but he's a very intelligent guy. He knows what he's doing. And they gave him a VP position instead of being an equal with Lee. Mm-hmm. So here's a guy who's probably not getting paid as much, but is doing all the stuff that Lee is supposed to be doing. But
Okay, hold on. I'm confused. They hired an executive.
Yes, a vice president.
Okay.
They hired a vice president of
How many people
marketing,
does DC
sales.
Comics have?
That I don't know. They have 15 editors,
Mm-hmm.
like we just said, 15 staffers on the editorial
team.
Yes. So I know that much. As far as all of their writers and the artists are all considered freelancers, so you can't fire them. You just end your contract with them, you know? They actually wound up firing a lot of people once AT&T took over, but for the most part,
Okay.
you know, there's not too many people working there apparently, but they wanted to keep Lee as the figurehead because they think that that's a good thing, but then they hired this guy with a lesser title. He doesn't actually report to Lee.
Mm-hmm.
They both report to the same people, but they don't have the same title, which means they probably don't have the same pay. And that's what's a little bit disparaging. So here's this guy they hired, and and what does Lee do? Right? So it's a little bit frustrating to hear these sort of things. Anyway, so as the story goes, here's Harvey Richards and Lateef Williams. L.A. Williams got fired, L.A. Williams quit after 6 years with no promotion and after disparities with DC's leadership. Right around the time that he was leaving, Richards came in. Harvey Richards. He was assistant editor for 12 years. That's the lowest editorial position. Yeah. 12 years. See, L.A. was only halfway there. He should have waited another 6 years. He would have finally gotten a next little tiny bump. I mean, what? No patience? Anyway, so yeah, he left. It's funny because L.A. Williams talks about, I was there for 6 years, no promotions. I felt stupid for staying for so long. And that sucks. Yeah. When you leave a job and you think that about your time and all the sweat that you gave for a company, you know? And in those kinds of executive positions, like, you know, the lower you are on the totem pole, the more work is expected out of you. The upper echelon is usually just following up with people. Yeah. Especially like, that's all editors are supposed to do is follow up with people. You know, they're not doing any writing or anything unless you're actually reporting to people, which I do actually have more on that. So Harvey Richards was an assistant editor for 12 years, finally promoted to associate editor in 2009. A Latinx, you know, this is white people saying this nonsense because Latinos and Latinas don't say this. A Latinx former assistant editor left in 99 after 5 years working there because no promotions. Paul Levitz was the DC publisher at the time. He asked these guys to write things for him, to, like, basically, what have you done for the whole week?
Oh, I hate those.
Yeah, that's one of the most ridiculous things in the world. Yeah. That one guy I was working for in Saudi, the Canadian guy that I was reporting to when I was working in Saudi, he asked me to do that stuff, and I refused to. Yeah. And it was like, 3 months later, I was like, yeah, I'm done, bye. Yeah. Like, no, I am not, like, you will see the things that I do.
Unless
I am not
going to touch.
Like, yeah, exactly. Call me on the phone, talk to me that way, but no, I am not going to sit here and write down. How much time that takes? It's less. What did you do this week? Well, today I wrote down all the things that I did. I don't have time to do anything else today. Sorry. No, that's baloney. You're an editor or you're a publisher, your job is to see what I'm doing. Don't ask me what I'm freaking doing, you moron.
So what happened here?
So anyway, he went and put that out. The guy goes and says to him, you have grammar problems. So he would have fired him immediately, right? No, I'm being honest. Let's be realistic. If I have a publisher, one of the smaller things they're expected to do is spelling check, grammar check. Yeah. If you have bad grammar, even if it's a little bit bad, I'm firing you. It's like, sorry, bud, you're gone. But Paul Levitz didn't fire him. That's what caught my attention. He says you got grammar problems, but doesn't fire him? An editor shouldn't have. That's like having a spell checker who needs to look in a dictionary for everything. Now, you're done, bud. If I just need a regular spell checker, I'll just use my computer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need somebody who doesn't know how to spell being my spell checker. That doesn't make sense.
So, okay, why didn't he fire him then?
Good question. Maybe you can figure something out. He said, so Warner Brothers, because they were owned by Warner Brothers during this time, they give out awards called carrots. Warner Brothers, Bugs Bunny,
Yeah,
carrots, gives out the carrots. He's gotten 2 carrots from Warner Brothers while Warner Brothers was in charge. During when he was given the second carrot, Paul Levitz had to actually hand deliver it to him. It says, "Some people think you deserve this."
Yeah, that's very disrespectful, regardless of the context.
That's like, why don't you just spit in my face?
Regardless of the context, regardless of
Yeah.
whatever's happening between you.
No, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's like literally, it would have been easier to just spit in my face because then I can go to police. They can take the DNA, swab it, and check and see, yeah, this person spit in your face and whatnot, and then I can actually take you to court for this. I can call the cops on you. But something like this is like, you are a coward. You are a sniveling,
or a bully.
weaselly. Oh, you're a bully whether you spit in somebody's face or do this.
I mean, like it's a...
No, I'm saying that you're a despicable, wretched coward.
Yeah.
To do some passive-aggressive garbage like this to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
You don't talk to somebody like that. And if you got something to say it. Don't be a weasel. Don't be a little snake. Some people think you deserve this. Ha, 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 ha. Then maybe I'll punch you back.
Yeah, very toxic.
Yeah. Epic fail on this guy. So there's a bunch of stuff from this. This actually comes from the Business Insider. This was disrespectful. It's funny. Harvey was finally fired because there was he was finally promoted because somebody new came in. Paul Levitz left, and he finally got an assistant editor's position. Wow. After 12 years, he finally got an associate editor. Started off an assistant, 12 years, then he became an associate editor. So he's still not a full-fledged editor yet. Still has a major workload. Still has a lot of work coming to him. A lot of his books were selling. Hey, one of the things that, I forget which one of these guys it was, but one of the guys was assigned a certain number of books, did those books, they started selling well. The guy comes to Levitz or whoever the hell it was, comes to him and says, "What the hell is this?" He's like, "Yeah, I brought the sales up. Good, right?" And he's like, "You wasted this writer and this artist on these books to..." It was a character called Impulse. It's one of the Flash characters. Honestly, my favorite of the Flash characters, but that's besides the point. I digress. Brought the sales up big time. I think this was actually L.A. that this happened with, because during the time period that they're talking about in the mid to late 80s. So I think this was L.A. Anyway, came in and he's like, you're wasting you don't put these guys on the Flash, on Impulse. You waste it. It's like, dude, I brought the sales up. Even when I win, I lose with you.
Yeah.
Like, how do you do that? So anyway, he finally wound up quitting.
I mean, like, going back to, I don't know the name, but like that manager person, like...
Paul Levitz.
Why isn't he involved? Why is he finding out about something after it had been... I mean, like, how does their organization work?
Well, no, that I understand. But it's like when you look into why somebody succeeded, isn't that a model?
Mm-hmm.
You know? I mean, it almost sounds like it makes sense. Don't waste this this person should be writing Superman. But, okay, so did you assign him to write Superman? That's the question. Because I don't remember this person ever being assigned to write Superman.
Yeah.
I forget who the writer actually was that they were talking about, but no, sorry. I don't see that.
Yeah.
So all of it's just absolutely disrespectful. To me, these stories seem racist. But now let's take it a step further. Every single time that DC was asked to clarify something or somebody within the organization, they all declined to comment. One time they even, done. But with Paul Levitz, since he no longer works for the company, he did respond. And you know his response was? I completely decline to comment on personnel.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm pretty sure, what was it, like, back in June or something, they probably put out a Black Lives Matter statement, right? Like everybody else. But then internally, Yeah. Like, I don't know. I don't know how they're operating. It's definitely a very toxic workplace.
Well, it seems to be that
But it's
way,
like,
yeah.
but like, if these are the only people who are at least like getting the most heat,
Hmm.
then yeah, it's racially motivated, right?
Yeah, it seems that way. And they don't have a whole lot of legs to stand on, even at the WB in general, because as it turns out, this story continues with Ray Fisher. So, Ray Fisher, I haven't really talked too much about him with you,
Mm-hmm.
but he's one of my favorite people in Hollywood right now.
Okay.
He's the
Yeah.
guy who played Cyborg in the
Yeah.
Justice League
I just
movie.
remembered. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you didn't see the movie, but he had a really horrible role. I hated his role in the movie. It was doggy doo doo. You know, it was dookie. That's what
Yeah.
it was. I hated it. But at the end of the day, I come to find out why. It was radically reduced. See, Zack Snyder was
Mm-hmm.
doing the movie, and then his daughter had committed suicide,
Mm-hmm.
and then a month he tried to just work through it and whatnot, but a month later he's like, I need to go and be with my family, saying my wife is dealing with this stuff and everything, and it's like, do what you got to do, bud. Do what you got to do. There was rumor that he was actually fired from the position and whatnot. I even once reported that he was fired on it because of the information that I got.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't know one way or the other if he was told to go home or not, but that's, as it stands right now, it's starting to look like as though no, he was, he chose to go home. But yeah, no, it's hard. It's a really weird one.
It
So
could have
anyway,
been just like, yo, you're not good. You know what I mean? Like his boss is saying to him, like,
I'm struggling to even comment on this because I hate commenting on speculation.
okay, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I'm just trying to say, like, I may have been wrong. I'm quick to acknowledge when I'm wrong. So quick that if I may have been wrong, I'm pointing out, hey, I may have been wrong. Anyway, so there's Ray Fisher basically said that when the reshoots, or what do you call it, when all of a sudden Joss Whedon came in, Joss Whedon did the original Avengers movie, plus the second Avengers movie, the one with the Sokovia up and down and all that stuff. He also did Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the TV series, right? He did all that.
I don't remember him from that, but okay.
He was the director. He produced the whole thing. Yeah, so you never see him. No, but he was responsible for all of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, all of these movies put together, and it's a strange thing. I don't really remember too many black people in those, now that I think about it.
If I remember correctly, yeah, no, I don't
James
remember.
Rhodes. We kept on wondering, where's James Rhodes? This isn't something I'm getting from anywhere either.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just simply commenting on stuff that we all in the comic book community noticed. Where's James Rhodes? Where's Rhodey? War Machine.
Mm-hmm,
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Where's Rhodey in the freaking movies? Like he was there for a hot minute in the beginning of Avengers 2, but how come he didn't actually show up for the main fight? They could have used that.
Yeah.
Nick Fury shows up for like a brief second and says, yeah, I pulled this puppy out of mothballs with the freaking helicarrier and whatnot. It's like, these guys could have had a better role.
Mm-hmm.
There were like no black people in this for the most part, except for snippets. It's weird. Buffy the Vampire Slayer didn't have too many black people in it.
And then they went to Wakanda and destroyed Wakanda. I'm still mad about that.
That wasn't
the previous movie, I know. But
that wasn't Joss Whedon.
Okay.
So anyway, like I'm just commenting on Joss Whedon stuff. So a lot of the stuff he did, Alias, I don't remember if he did Dollhouse or not. I seem to be associating that with, and I think you watched Dollhouse, but I know that he did Alias and stuff like that. There was Jennifer Gardner.
Okay.
Anyway, he's done a bunch of really cool things, and people talk about, oh, he's really good with women, and he supports women, and he does like feminist kind of things, and he's feminist stuff like that. The typical Hollywood stuff, where you say, feminism, but you can still be racist, and it's okay. I don't know if he's actually racist or not, but he's being accused of racism and many, many other things by Ray Fisher. I'm going to get to more than just Ray Fisher in a hot minute, because we've talked about it before, but so Ray Fisher he went to Comic-Con, I think in 2017, I think it was, whatever it was, when they did the reshoots and whatnot. He and because they did some reshoots because Joss Whedon was coming on to finish the movie, and a lot of people had a problem with the final movie. Whatever, I just looked at it as it was better than the previous stuff. At least people were happy, and I could see what was happening. It wasn't like there was a black veil, a blanket over top of the freaking camera.
Yeah.
But and somebody asked me at one point, was the movie, were the original movies filmed on film? Or I thought everything was done digitally. Well, I just found verification that Zack Snyder did, in fact, use film, actual reel-to-reel film.
Okay.
Joss Whedon does digital. Now, that's going to come up again later. That's why I'm mentioning it.
Okay.
But it is going to come up again later. Anyway, so all these people, a bunch of people for, the actors for the Justice League movie went to a Comic-Con like, yeah, Joss Whedon's a great guy, and he was handpicked by Zack Snyder to replace his stuff. Turns out that's not actually the case. In fact, he didn't want anybody to jump on there. But Zack Snyder's not talking because he's got a good contract still with, he wants to make sure that he can at least put out his Snyder Cut.
Yeah.
So, and I get the feeling that one of the reasons why they're saying, you want to do part 2? Is so that he keeps his mouth shut further.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It's one of those things where it's like, it doesn't matter how rich you are. If you find out that your life may no longer get that income that you've been generating, that source of income, all of a sudden it's bad. Plus, if it's said about you that you're hard to work with or difficult to work with in Hollywood, that's old Hollywood. And all of a sudden, you don't get hired anymore. That's the shoulder rubbing of these people who know each other. Harvey Weinstein used to black flag a lot of women if they didn't want to do stuff with him. And that's what he would say. And people believed it. In fact, Richard Bay said that about Megan Fox. And she wasn't able to get a whole bunch of roles for a while. Yeah. She's starting to get some roles again recently. She's got her own controversy now. But, that's what he'd said. Oh, she's very difficult to work with, which at the time I didn't realize that was a red flag. When you say she's difficult to work with, it's so aloof that it's just, it could be anything. But people just say, okay, fine, let's not work with her anymore. That's some dirty pool.
It is
right there. Anyway, so Joss Whedon was apparently abusive on set. A bunch of people came up from Buffy and other shows, and whether they said that they were okay with it or not, they said that there was some genuine abusive behavior. You remember the Buffy TV series, the guy Spike, the one vampire? Anyway, he was the main bad guy vampire from the show, the blonde hair and whatnot. And Joss didn't like the idea that people liked him. Like, vampires have to be evil, and I just want you guys to be easily killed and whatnot, so I'm planning on killing you. And I don't care what the fans say. Like, he caught him in the hallway one day and slammed him up against the wall and said, I don't care what they say about you. You're dead. You're dead. You hear me? You're dead, meaning meaning a vampire. That's what the actor said he meant. You're dead. So like that,
assault.
like, I'm going to kill. Yes, it is. It's physical. It's assault and battery.
Yeah.
Like, it's the implied violence and the actual violence. He put his hands on him. He slammed him up against the wall. Now the guy says, no, it's intense. And I stood my ground and I was cool. I was a little bit scared, but no, it was cool because, like, that's what we do. And I love that passion. So I don't hold him against him at all. Blah, 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 blah. Which is fine. Which, hey, I'm not taking a bit away from him. But if somebody else doesn't appreciate something like that, doesn't take away from them either. If somebody slams me against the wall, you better have a gun to my face because I'm going to beat you unconscious. Yeah. I was just talking about that before. You remember earlier on? Somebody did that behind me. I'm turning around. You get one with the left, one with the right. We'll see what happens after that. Yeah. I'll see if you need any more.
No second chances.
No, I don't do second chances. You don't put your hands on me. Of course, Joss is apparently a lot bigger than this character who plays Spike. I can't remember his name right now. I've got it in my head.
I barely used to watch it back in the day.
Whatever. It's fine. So anyway, a lot of things like this would happen. So he's saying that, when Joss came on, all of a sudden, like, it was bad. There was some bad things going on. He was very abusive to people. And then he went to try and report him to people. And it turns out that other people were protecting this guy.
Yes, they are, yeah.
And then, yeah, exactly. It's a boys' club.
Yeah.
And mind you, to everybody, I'm not saying, this is not meant to be a misandristic comment. When we say boys' club, that can mean just girls doing the boys' club. The term is simply used to say it's closed knit. It doesn't have, even though it sounds like it's, sex gender oriented, literally you can have an all girl, sometimes they'll call it a sewing circle, but that's usually like just means gossipy. But you can have an all women, group, and it's like it's a boys club also. So just pointing that out for the sake of conversation. But it's a boys club. They all know each other. They work with each other. Hey, this guy got me a job. Hey, I got this guy a job.
He's just intense, just like what you were just saying about that
exactly,
right? He's
exactly.
just intense. Just put up with him.
That is not a boys club mentality. That's not what that is. That's a perception because the kid has no power. He has zero power. But when we're talking about the executive directors, when we're talking about the executive vice president, when we're talking about the vice president himself, when all of these people are looking out for each other, okay? At one point, here's one of the things that happened. He goes and Ray Fisher goes and says that what happened? Joss Whedon did a bunch of bad things. So he went to Jeff Johns, who very famous at DC Comics. He's written some of the best stories modern day. He just last week, earlier this week, the Three Jokers Part 3 of 3 came out, and it's amazing. It's really good. He writes some amazing stories, and in Warner Brothers they keep him around because a lot of his stories, and even stories that he didn't do, but his creative input for giving them stories and direction is invaluable.
Okay.
So Ray Fisher went to Jeff Johns and to John Berg. He's one of the execs there. And he complained to them, hey, blah, 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 Joss Whedon is really abusive and stuff like that. We still don't know exactly what happened. Ray is only letting out certain amounts of information. So he goes and he says that according to Ray, he says that Berg and Johns enabled that sort of stuff through gaslighting or just allowing it or explaining it away, whatever, like I say, gaslighting. And he says that Jeff Johns actually alluded to the idea or implied that his future as a Hollywood actor could be in jeopardy. He comes from Broadway, specifically off Broadway. He's an actor. He's done a bunch of really cool roles. Yeah. But this is his first real foray into Hollywood. But so that threat was made, hey, this could actually wind up costing you, whatever. Now, however that came about, because we all want to love Jeff Johns. Everybody in the comic book industry wants to throw as many excuses Jeff Johns' way as possible. Well, it could be this. I'm even guilty of this, all right? And I don't know one way or the other, so I'm trying not to, give him excuses or take away excuses. But, it could be, just as people have been saying, maybe just said, dude, if it's really that bad, then okay. But honestly, if it's not that bad, I mean, even if it is, this could wind up costing you. You could be blacklisted.
All of this is so messy.
It is.
Not even when you're talking about big organizations, but even teeny tiny organizations down your in your block, for example. Yes. When you have somebody doing something wrong, you've had lunches with these people.
Yep.
You know their personal stories. Yeah. You have policies, right? Organizational rules and
policies.
You
know their kids. You've seen the pictures. You've done. You know where they dine.
What do I do? Do I stay on the side of right and kick this person to the curb? Or, nah, I'm going to have a conversation with him, tell him, yo, chill a little bit. You're getting a little too intense right now. All of these things play out, and it's not right.
It might not even, in some cases, have anything to do with, well, this guy's got a lot of connections, and I want to network through this person.
Oh, absolutely.
It could work that way, but it could just simply be, no, this is actually my friend.
Yeah. Or, like you said, he's working for them. He's doing great work for them. So it's why jeopardize that for a kid who can be replaced, right? Yes. So, yeah.
Exactly. So there's lots of ways that this could be played out. Bottom line, though, according to him, his first clue that things. So Ray Fisher went and had a Forbes interview earlier this week, a couple days ago, where he clarified some more things. He's slowly bringing stuff out because he doesn't want to give them everything right away. You know what I'm saying? But he's keeping it in the news cycle, just a little bit here and there. So he has this Forbes interview where he says that his first clue that something was wrong was in 2017. WB, they claimed that Snyder personally chose Whedon to replace him, and he didn't talk to Snyder for like a year and a half after that because he gave him space. Yeah. But then he's finding out that no, he didn't handpick him. He didn't choose Whedon specifically. So WB giving them a line of crap. Also told them, oh, hey, I want you to, have these scripted and fake talking points saying that Joss Whedon's a great guy, he's fun to work with. And I've seen the footage where he's actually, him and a bunch of other people, they've come out as like, oh, Joss is great to work with. He did such a great job and whatnot. And sometimes, you see them saying they're good actors. It looks good. But then you see the other actors on the side who aren't saying anything and just like Jason Momoa played Aquaman in that movie. And he, at one point, was like that. Oh my God. Yeah, I watched these clips multiple times. You know me. I look for body language. Yeah. And I'm seeing, it's not even just tics. It's full blown, F this guy.
What's her name? Ellen DeGeneres. Yeah. He's going to have an Ellen DeGeneres moment very soon.
Who?
You remember Ellen DeGeneres?
No. Who's going to have an Ellen DeGeneres moment?
Joss Whedon.
Joss Whedon?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right?
Yeah.
Right?
He's going to come out and he's going to make a statement and he's going to say,
that's going to... Exactly. That's going to happen. For a fact that's going to happen. Yeah. So during the reshoots, here's where it starts to get a little bit damning. During the reshoots, there was blatant racist conversations were had and entertained by Jeff Johns and Joss Berg, and here's a new name being thrown into the mix, current WB Pictures chairman, Toby Emmerich.
Okay, so I'm done. Yeah.
Well, so some of these are secondhand that he's hearing, but some of them he actually heard personally. So, and he's being forthcoming with this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Saying that I heard some of this secondhand, that's damning.
It is.
But it's damning for him. It's like, oh, you heard a word of mouth. You heard it on the grapevine. That doesn't mean anything. But the idea that he's putting this stuff out is like, some of this I heard directly, but admittedly, some of it I just heard through the grapevine.
We're talking about a place that is toxic to this extent, and then when you're talking about
could be now, mind you.
True. I'm jumping the gun,
yes,
right? Yes. But you have this place that is this toxic, and then if you're having conversations in the proverbial water cooler that is racist and people can hear, and then what's his name again? Ray Fisher can hear sometimes. It's it's not a secret. It's an organization that is blatantly out in the open. Let's make racist jokes and let's condone things. And if somebody comes up, then it's yo, you're being too sensitive. Chill. This is just a joke.
Exactly. We're just cracking jokes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. So he specifically heard that Joss Whedon, this is, first off, people of color had their roles significantly reduced or completely cut. 100% true. We know this for a fact because there are several actors who have come out who their roles were cut completely. Ray Fisher's role was cut drastically. Zack Snyder says that that Ray Fisher's character, Cyborg, is the heart of the movie. That's where you start to see the heroes go from bad to slowly becoming good. But Ray Fisher's role was drastically cut. His on-screen father role was cut. The mother was cut out completely.
Wow.
All of these characters, and if you know Cyborg's story, his parents' role is super crucial to who the character is. But I've also reported in the past on this podcast that his barber, the barber it wasn't even his personal barber, Ray Fisher's personal barber, but this barber that took care of him and a lot of the black actors too, and was in the trailer with everybody else, their name was completely cut out. All the other barbers were up there, but the black guy, his name was cut out. Stupid little stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where it's like, dude, you don't have space to put a couple of extra letters in there under everybody else's name and say, hey, this guy was
and
also...
those things actually matter in people's careers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To be able to say, go and look at these credits. You're going to see my name in there. This is a little place in England. I've actually got it in my notes, but like pages and pages backwards from a previous podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But like, here's this guy, a little place in England, and it's like, you can't just simply give this guy a shout.
Yeah.
He did the work. He was there. You give these people a shout out. You gave it to everybody else, but the black guy, you don't. Like, it's little things like that where it's like, that. There's no oversight. Don't tell me that's an oversight.
Even
with
if it
everything
is,
else.
Even if it is an
if
oversight.
that was isolated, we could say that it was possibly an oversight.
But even if it is, though,
mm-hmm.
it's still hella problematic.
Yeah.
Then you got to sit down with yourself and be like, okay, so why am I missing the only black barber here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, be a little introspective. But there's no need to be introspective when you already know what the problem is. Yeah. And that's and in these particular cases, no, this is so factual, it's beyond belief. Like, this is inarguable at this point. So, here's one of the things that he heard on the grapevine. Ray Fisher heard on the grapevine. Okay. Joss Whedon ordered the complexion of a person of color's actor's skin to be changed in post-production because he didn't like the color of their skin tone. Before you jump to judgment, this is the only thing that Joss Whedon or anybody in the WB has actually responded to. Okay. The only thing. The response was, and this is where I got the information about the film to digital. It's known that, Snyder did everything on film and Whedon did everything by digital. So sometimes the color wasn't matching up and blah, 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 and little stuff like that.
Technicalities. Yeah. The easiest things to talk about. Yeah, I know.
And with just a little bit of research, he could have realized that was just some nonsense, blah, 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 blah.
And everything else he said is negated because of this point.
Exactly. That right there is the pitchfork up his ass sideways. Yeah. Literally, you're done, Joss Whedon. 100% you are guilty of everything that's said from this point on. Why? Because you didn't respond to anything. But this one thing where it's also added that I didn't hear personally. I heard it through the grapevine that this is that this was said. Yeah. This one thing is responded to. Everything else they don't want to respond to. And we've got other people confirming that it's happened. Yeah. Whether it's for the good or for the bad. Because there's also a couple that was told, you two can't be together. I'm going to have to fire one of you guys if you guys are both together. And showing that you're together. It's like, dude, they don't even work on the same... They work on the same movie, policy? But they work on... Can you really make a policy where, like, two people who are married can't
Some places do, and I think it's stupid. But, yeah, as long as, like, one isn't reporting to the other, who cares?
Constitutionally, you can't do that. So I'm curious, and here in Canada, charter rights, you can't do that. So, I get it, but, like, provincial or statewide, like, are there states' rights that say, state laws that say that?
I know that with employment contracts here, they'll ask you to declare if you become intimate with someone at the workplace.
If you become intimate at the workplace, but if you're both hired and it's known, these two are together, they're actually married and blah, 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 blah. Hello. I understand if, I was dating somebody when I was in Costco and we weren't allowed to both be on register next to each other at the same time or working directly. Yeah. That I understand. Yeah. But like, you both can't be together on this. You can't have your lunches together and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's controlling.
Yeah, exactly. That's what that is. Yeah. That's that nitpicky, this is my set, everybody will obey me. No, wrong answer. Yeah. So, so that's the thing. What else happened? There was something else I wanted to bring up and I can't remember where I put it. Shoot. Here we go. So, according to Fisher again, there were massive blow-ups from just all around. Massive blow-ups, threats, coercion, taunting, unsafe working conditions, belittling, and gaslighting like you wouldn't believe.
feel so bad for him and everybody else at that set.
Yeah. And it's not just him. He said, I wanted people to just keep it quiet. I wanted just boo, 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 boo. They could have just addressed it and it would have been done. They didn't even want to do that. They didn't want to do even so much as a reprimandation. They didn't want to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
More than that, they've been, like, they put out one article trying to blast him, oh, Ray Fisher's just mad because we reduced his role and blah, 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 blah. They try to offer him, hey, why don't you come back for a minor role in the Flash movie? And give him little things like that, like, here's a legal job where we'll pay you a good amount for. And he's like, I'm still going to keep doing this thing. They went and they tried to coast up some of the other co-stars with him, like Jason Momoa, for instance. I reported on this a couple weeks ago. They went and said, oh, yeah, there's a good chance that Johns and Bergman, what the heck is this knucklehead's name? John Berg. That John Berg and Jeff Johns are going to be doing a Frosty the Snowman movie with Jason Momoa in the main lead. I'm saying there's a chance it's going to happen, blah, blah, blah.
They're trying to buy him.
They put his name into this to seem as like a distraction. Jason Momoa wasn't having anything. He was nice and silent about everything, but once they actually said his name on this stuff, he came out and he's like, that's a bunch of crap. I'm not working with them on any of these, on this nonsensical project. That I'm not going to be Frosty the effing Snowman. And that what they need to do is pay, and these all in caps on his Instagram, what they need to do is pay attention to the fact that they screwed with Ray Fisher. They're screwing with me. They've screwed with a whole bunch of people, and it was a really messed up set, and there needs to be an investigation to see what's going on. Yeah. Aloha.
I have to follow him on social media.
The one guy you would leave me with.
That's not true, but still.
Oh, there's more?
No. I wouldn't.
I know.
But
anyway. What do you call it? So that's like a long time running joke with these guys. They get it.
Okay, really? Okay.
Yeah, I told them a long time ago you would leave me for Jason Momoa.
Anyways, keep going.
So, I see a black woman blush.
I don't blush.
So, I know. Anyway, so, what happens? Anyways, so they were shocked. Yeah. Like the WB executives were shocked that he would come out and say, it's like, we're really shocked and disappointed that he would say, or not disappointed. They didn't want to say disappointed because that's confrontational. We were shocked he would say such things and blah, 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 blah. And
he's a big actor, so.
Yeah, and they've shut their goddamn mouths since.
Yeah.
Sorry, every single thing right now is showing that they're guilty.
They're a mess.
So there are a bunch of fans right now that are, and for a while, that are mad at Fisher and saying, just come out and say the stuff already, blah, blah, blah. But you can't. You can't just come out and... No, like, in what card game do you come out and you just throw everything on the table? Like, these are people who've never played poker before. You know what I'm saying?
Or don't believe in the possibility that he could be on the receiving end of something that just isn't your run-of-the-mill toxic workplace.
Going back to the names Harvey Richards and L.A. Williams...
Yeah.
Why did they keep... If these guys weren't any good, why'd they keep them around for so long? Now's when I want you to actually try to answer that question.
And going back to that conversation about, or that point about grammar, I mean, like, he's an editor, but, like, grammar in what context? Is he catching grammar issues in the content that he's editing or an email? Because those are two very different things.
No, when he went and made a letter saying, this is what I've been doing this is what my job entails. He says, you got some grammar issues.
Still.
Is he, like, it was an informal letter.
Yeah.
You and I, as English teachers, you and I both know, that's an informal letter.
Exactly. Like, when I'm writing an email, I'm not going to be, like, nitpicking. No. Yeah.
Writing a cover letter is different from writing a letter to a friend, and those are both extremes.
Yeah.
And here's everything in between.
Yeah.
And it's especially when you're already working at a job.
Yeah.
You're not going to write a cover letter.
It's like when your guard is down, or you're job. Just like, yeah. It's just like another task in your day. It's like,
It's literally, yeah, I've been doing this. It's like if you were sending it out to a customer, that's something else. If I'm making a request of a customer, I'm going to be like, hey, bud, can you do blah, 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 unless I know you, unless we talk by first name.
Even like when I'm sending it, I'll say like, an email to a colleague or a manager or whatever. Like it just depends, Sometimes you're just not going to be putting in 100%. And it's okay.
At the end of the day, what this sounds to me like is you talk too black.
And you nitpicking, right? It's like
nitpicking or you're talking too black. That's what it sounds like to me.
And holding him to a high standard.
A higher standard.
Yeah,
precisely.
Yeah, a higher standard, yeah.
Precisely.
Yeah. Been there, man. Like, enough times. It's like, are you serious? You think I'm going to be putting in all of my attention to your 5-6 lines of emails? No.
You're nonsensical.
And thank you. Yeah. I don't need your corrections.
Yeah. At the end of the day, here's the question, though. I want you to try and answer your own question. Why did they keep him for 22 years?
Can't answer that. I don't know.
Well, I guess he was doing a good enough job.
Yeah.
And if they were, according to them, they were overloading them with work. So, hey, here's extra labor.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I'm saying?
They were bringing in money for them.
You might whip a pack animal, but you're not going to get rid of the pack animal as long as it's still working.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's basically what these guys were treated as. Yeah. Pack animals.
Ugh, that sucks, man.
It really does.
Yeah.
6 years of your life. That sucks. 22 years of your life. And he was, you know what he was fired for? It's the new person who come in. I don't remember her name. She said, oh, yeah, you're just not keeping up with your work capacity that you used to keep up with. After 22 years and getting one lousy promotion, I'd probably be demoralized enough that I wouldn't either. But hey, that's just me. Maybe I'll write a really well grammatically put letter, saying what a jerk you are. Like, it's ridiculous that these sort of things actually happen in these workplaces. And maybe you have more experiences than I do with it. And I think I have more experiences than most white people. You know what I'm saying? But, with this sort of a thing. But I know that I don't have as many experiences as actual people of color. You?
Yeah, I do. Enough times.
Yeah, I'm just at a loss at this point. Like I'm exhausted, and I can't imagine doing this for 6 or 22 years.
It's really, really exhausting, and I know people don't get it, but like when you're in the middle of something, whether you're on the receiving end of it or not, like the way guards come up, it's really astounding. People right away go and protect the potentiality of the aggressor, right? From my perspective, protecting their future, protecting the organization, protecting the reputation of the organization.
So when you're saying the guard, please explain what you mean by their guard.
Getting defensive and not willing to actually talk about what's happening.
So this is a bystander. You're saying person A, person B having a fight, and here's all the persons C.
Not even necessarily a bystander, but like, say, for example, the conversation here where, there was something that happened between Ray Fisher and
Joss Whedon.
And then he goes to the other guy, and he tells the other guy, and the other guy gaslights him. I've had those conversations enough times, and it's super, you just don't get it, you know?
Maybe that's not what you saw. Maybe that's not what you heard.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not really what happened.
He's really not like that.
Yeah,
she's really not like that.
I'm sure that's not what he meant.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll have a conversation with him. And it's like...
It's just a misunderstanding. You'll see.
And this is like at best. Mm-hmm. At best, Mm-hmm. Other times, like, you're just gaslit and you're the one that's, what's it called? Redlined or whatever, So, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the podcast.
Well, that was something.
Sorry to end it on there. Wish I had better news.
It's all good.
But this is where we're at. DC is basically turning out to be DC and Warner Brothers. Everything associated with DC is turning out to be a real garbage company at this point. Not good with the comic book stores. Not good with the purchasers, with the buyers, with the customers. Not good with their employees, at least not if they're anything other than white or Jim Lee. Yeah, not good with anybody. Not good with their actors.
Yeah.
I guess that when you're that big of a company, you've been doing things this way for so long, you start to think that it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully times will change.
They'll smell the roses and be like...
The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. That's a Bob Dylan quote. So anyway, talk to you guys later, Professor Bill and Warda. Class dismissed. That was horrible. That was horrible. Literally just like a point. That's it? What is that?
Okay, let's do it again.
Really? We're going to do it again?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it again. Class dismissed.
See, I got it.